Hello and welcome to another visit into a scholar's dreams. I'm your host, Laverly Rios, and in this episode, we will be exploring the relationship between various Cinderella tales and the history surrounding them. As you listeners know, I like to choose a different theme to explore every month, a different area of academia to explore and to show you guys topics that I think deserve more attention than they are currently receiving. And in honor of World Literature Month, I've decided to focus this month's theme of history exclusively on folklore and fairy tales. This week features Cinderella. Let's begin, shall we? Now, our story begins over 2,000 years ago, in the Roman Republic no less. We have a famous Roman rhetorician by the name of Claudius Aelianus, who writes a book titled the Varia Historia. It's a collection of various beliefs, customs, and traditions from the fallen city-states of ancient Greece. The particular story I would like to focus on is titled Of Aspasia. While it is not a Cinderella tale in the sense of featuring an abusive stepmother and stepsisters, it is a tale of modesty being rewarded, which is essentially the essence of all Cinderella tales. Now, Aelianus, or simply Aelian, places us on Phocis, which is a region of ancient Athens just to the north of the Peloponnesus. Now, during this critical period in Greek history, the empires of Sparta and Athens were warring against each other in what we now know as the Peloponnesian War. The neighboring empire of Persia also lent significant support to Sparta, which is a major reason why the war ended so decisively in favor of the Spartans. Aelian follows a young woman by the name of Aspasia, who shortly after the Spartan and Persian campaigns into Athens was shortly taken up by one of the governors of a neighboring region of the Persian Empire by the name of Cyrus to be presented as a concubine, sort of a spoil of war. Now, as Aspasia and several other women are being presented to Cyrus for evaluation, all of the other women freely present themselves to him. But Aspasia not only refuses to be touched by Cyrus, but actually attempts to run away from him until the guards forcibly subdue her. Paradoxically, this makes Cyrus even more attached to Aspasia. Aelian quotes him as saying, "This maid only is free and pure. The rest are adulterate in face, but much more in behavior." And it seems that after that, the relationship between the two blossomed. However, it is not all sunshine and rainbows. In the midst of all this, Cyrus and his older brother, the Emperor Artaxerxes II, were busy locked in a violent feud, as Cyrus secretly planned to steal the throne from his older brother and assume the title of emperor himself. The famous scholar-soldier Xenophon corroborates this testimony. It seems that Cyrus had built up what was then the largest standing army the world has ever seen. In fact, modern scholars give it the name of the 10,000. Unfortunately, despite all that manpower, Cyrus was ultimately slain by his older brother. Aelian and Xenophon both mention this, and Xenophon specifically mentions that Cyrus's head and his right arm were severed from his body. This podcast was sponsored by Headspace. Headspace is a mindfulness and meditation app that improves your quality of life by teaching you how to be mindful of your emotions and compassionate toward both them and yourself. Use code LAVERLY to get 33% off your first month of subscription to this fantastic meditation app. Headspace, meditation made simple. In collaboration with our sponsor today, I would like to walk you guys through a brief headspace session to give you an idea of what it feels like to use the app. I would like you to all sit in a comfortable chair, if you're not doing so already, to help ground yourself in the here and now, to relieve yourself of all your anxieties about the future, your shames of the past, and to keep your mind focused on the present. Focus on where your body is, what it feels like to inhabit it. Feel your hands on your arms and feel your feet on the ground. Take a few deep breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth. And focus on what it feels like to be here, what it feels like to be yourself, what it feels like to only live within the present. If unwanted emotions or thoughts come across your mind, that's okay. Let your mind experience them and feel them and return to the baseline present. Thank you for joining me on this podcast, and now let us move on to our next fairy tale. The next fairy tale I want to look at is one from Japan, and it is titled Benizara and Kakizara. It is a classic stepmother tale in the form you all know and love. Benizara, which is translated as red dish in English, is stepsister to Kakizara, which translates to broken dish, and also stepdaughter to Kakizara's mother. As you might expect, Benizara is horrendously abused and neglected by both Kakizara and her mother. The two give her impossible tasks to do as household chores, such as collecting nuts and fruits from the wilderness using a bag that has a hole in it. However, as she is busy trying to finish her impossible task one night, Benizara stumbles into an old woman's house. The old woman welcomes Benizara into her home and not only gives her a proper bag, which she can use to finish her task, but also a small wooden box, from which Benizara is told that whatever she wants will spontaneously materialize merely by the act of praying in front of it. Those of you familiar with Japanese mythology will probably recognize this old woman as a Yamauba, or mountain witch. It's a type of oni. Oni are demons in Japanese mythology, and while those of you might be wondering what a demon is doing helping our protagonist take back their life from their abusive family, it is worth mentioning that the word oni, while it can be most closely translated as demon, falls somewhat short of fully encapsulating the meaning of that word and what oni really are. In fact, oni have been presented with several demeanors over the millennia that they have been known to Japanese audiences, and they have not always been malicious. In fact, sometimes they have been presented as harbingers of wealth and prosperity, oddly enough, and that is exactly what this Yamauba is helping our protagonist do. One other thing I would like to mention is that you can really tell the fate of our protagonist and antagonist just by looking at their names. As you know, red is considered a very felicitous color in East Asia, and Japan is no exception. Red is viewed as a symbol of good luck, of wealth, of fortune, and prosperity. So it is no wonder that Benizara is presented as the protagonist, while Kakizara is presented as the villain, along with Kakizara's mother. It just goes to show you how deeply entwined our fairy tales are to the world around them. I hope that our brief exploration into the history behind Cinderella tales has inspired you to do the same with the Cinderellas you know. And I hope that this podcast has given you a time in your day to relax and relieve yourself of stress. The next time we meet, we will be looking at various Little Red Riding Hood tales and the history behind them. But until then, I hope you all have a great day and take care.